What's up guys, in this video I want to show you a method on how you can error handle inside n8n, and what I mean by error handle is figuring out a way in which you can be notified whenever a workflow that you have in production, either for yourself or for a client, crashes, with details on what that workflow is, giving you information such as the name and also the exact execution that crashed. If you're new to the channel, my name is Josue and I make a lot of content regarding AI and automation, more specifically tutorials on building inside n8n, and I give you guys all the resources that you need in order to set these systems yourself. And so today I want to show you guys a system that will allow you guys to not miss any crash execution that might have happened inside your n8n instance or your clients. So let's dive in. So this is going to be the system right here. It's super simple. Like I mentioned, we're going to be using an error trigger, and if you don't know what an error trigger is, it's basically a node that triggers whenever an error happens in another workflow. So let me show you what I mean by this. So I'm going to look for another workflow right now. And so this is a workflow of an AI agent for customer support that I made in a previous video. I'm going to be linking that up here. But let's say something was to crash in this workflow. For example, a user messages my AI agent using Telegram, and for some reason, I don't have enough funds on my OpenAI account. What would happen is that I will get an error saying insufficient funds, and the execution will stop and the user will not get a response. And so if you wonder how you can trigger this workflow right here, which basically what it does is it sends a message to a Slack channel notifying, hey, this workflow has crashed, please check on it. I would have to come here to the workflow that I wanted to trigger. And if you go to their settings, you're going to see that you have an option for an error workflow, and it says to notify when this one errors, and you're going to be able to choose a workflow. So if I click the drop down here, I'm going to be able to see all of my workflows, but not all of these have a error trigger, which means they wouldn't work. So I would have to look for the exact workflow that I'm trying to trigger, which is called error workflow. And I hit save. So I want to show you guys what I mean by this. I'm going to run an execution and purposely have this workflow crash and give me an error, and then show on the other workflow that we got an execution from that trigger. So over here, I'm actually going to disconnect this just so that we only trigger this node. And the way to test this is we need to have the scenario active or in production. This is only going to work if your workflow is in production. And the way I'm going to test it is I'm just going to send a simple webhook to this workflow that will trigger an error through an HTTP request by making a call to a website that doesn't exist. So for that, I'm going to look into the webhook trigger. And first thing I want to do is connect it to an HTTP request, which is just trying to fetch a website online. And if I just type some gibberish.com and I hit save, then I can go over here and copy that production URL, which is what we're going to be calling in order to trigger that simple two-step node. Now I want to go back over here and I'm going to test it inside here just so that I'm not creating multiple workflows. So I want to use a manual trigger, which means it's going to execute when I hit on execute workflow, and then HTTP request, which is going to be calling that webhook that I just created. So all I have to do here is open it up and paste the webhook URL. We want to make sure that our methods match. So if you see here, the webhook trigger has a get method, and then the HTTP request also has a get method. So if I hit save, just make sure this one's also saved, and I hit run, you're going to see that it executed. If I go here to my executions, we can see that we had an error down here. And if I go to my executions for this specific workflow, I should see the execution I just ran, but then I also should see this error trigger being executed. So as you see over here, this is the manual one, and now we get an error trigger over here. And if we look into the error trigger, we get a bunch of information. And let me just go to schema just so that it looks a little bit better. We get things such as the specific URL of that execution that errored out. We're going to be using this to send it to the Slack channel whenever we get an error. We have also a message which we could add to that message in order to get a little bit more detail on what the error was. And we also get the name of the workflow, which is also very helpful to know which is the one that got an error. So now what I want to do is set up a Slack channel, and I'm going to show you guys how to set up your Slack credentials and create an app so that whenever we run this again, we see the error inside our Slack channel. And this is going to be helpful in case, let's say you have a team of developers that are on Slack, and maybe you have different channels for different clients. And then what you can do is you can have multiple error workflows for each of your clients. And whenever a workflow for that client errors out, it's going to go to the Slack and it's going to notify your team so that they can then go directly into that execution and fix it. So you want to use a Slack node, which is going to be the send a message one. So you can see they have a lot over here, but we can just search send a message. And that's what I have over here. And so I don't have any credentials set up yet, so we're going to do that. You want to go into Slack, and then I'm just going to sign in over here using Google Auth. Then I'm going to create a workspace. You might already have a workspace for your team, but this is just to show you guys how it is from scratch. So I'm going to hit on get started. I'm going to give this a name and an error tutorial. Hit next. That's my name. For here, it's just going to be myself. So don't invite anyone, and start with limited free version. So what I want to do now is that in this channel right here, I want to have a bot send me a message whenever the error happens. So for that, we're going to be needing an app. So I can go here to apps and hit on manage, browse apps, then again, browse apps. That's going to open a new tab. Then we want to hit on build, create an app from scratch. When I give this a name, I can say n8n error bot, then click on the workspace you just created. I'm going to get rid of this messages right here. And if I go back to n8n, you can see that we have two options to either connect using the access token or auth2. I'm going to show you guys how to do it through using an access token. So first thing you want to do is you want to go over to OAuth and permissions. So we're going to be setting our scopes and our permissions over here. And what a scope or permission is basically what we allow our credential or a token to do through API. So the ones we're going to be needing here are going to be channels join. We might want to have assistant write, channels read. We want to have chat write and groups read. So with that, we can go up here to OAuth tokens and hit on install to n8n error tutorial. Allow. Now we're going to get a token. So we want to copy that token. Go back here to n8n, paste it in. Give this a name. I'm just going to say test. Hit save. And now I should see here on the drop down menu for my channel list, the different channels that I have. So I want to use the all n8n error tutorial. And I've already predefined sort of like a message here. And if you want to do, you can use the same one or a different one, but I'm going to quickly explain what it is. So basically, this is the message that I'm going to be sending to the Slack channel, which is going to say there was an error on the workflow name on uppercase. And then here's the URL, the execution URL. And I'm getting this information from the trigger. So for example, I looked up the workflow name, which is down here, and I dragged it over here. And then I used the function dot to uppercase. It's just that it's a little easier to read. And then I added the URL. Here's the URL, which I dragged from the execution. And that's going to take me straight into that previous execution. So if I hit go to that page, there we have it. And so I'm going to execute this step, and you're going to see that it's going to say Slack error response not in channel. And so in order to fix that, you want to go back into your Slack workspace. So it would be here. As you see, our app is already here, but now I want to go into that specific channel and I want to mention that bot. So I could say at n8n error bot. I want to hit enter the Slack, but it's going to ask me if I want to add them to the channel. So I'm going to click add them. And if I test that one more time, I'm going to get a success. And if I go back to over here, you're going to see that I have the message. There was an error on Brad customer support agent. Here's the link that we just saw. So with that, you're also going to see that it says automated with this n8n workflow, and it gives you a link to that specific workflow, just the error workflow. As of right now, there's no way to remove this message, unfortunately. If you've used Gmail before or the Gmail notes inside n8n, you know there's an option to remove the n8n attribution. So over here, if I go to options, there's not an option yet, which is a little bit frustrating. There's ways to work around this, but there you go. Why don't we go ahead and unpin this and go back to this workflow, make sure everything's set up correctly, it is active, and I'm going to trigger the webhook. And as you see, that workflow was triggered, and now we have that message once again. And you can see that it's different because we have a different execution number, like 659 and 667. So that pretty much covers everything when it comes to using error workflows. Obviously, you can get very creative with this. You can maybe have an AI agent that filters the name of the workflow, and maybe, let's say, some specific workflows need to notify a specific team. Then you can have it routed to send it specifically to that person on there or on a specific Slack channel. So you can get very creative with this. I think this is the bare minimum that everyone who has workflows in production, specifically for their clients, must have. And you can have it send an email, you can have it maybe connected to a Discord channel if that's what your team uses, but I just wanted to show it in Slack because I know a lot of companies use that platform. But yeah, I hope you found this video helpful. If you enjoyed it and if you learned something new, please consider liking the video and subscribing to my channel. I will be posting more tutorials similar to this ones in the future. And if you have any other questions, please post them in the comments. I'll make sure to respond to them as soon as I can. So yeah, see you guys in the next one.